Season 2 of the Hills and Hollows podcast. I'm Jordan Fuller, hanging out with Kevin and Josh Hawley today. And today we're kind of talking about some of those common hang-ups in Christianity, maybe what's keeping people away from it, that whole science, evolution versus creationism. And we're going to dive a lot deeper into that. But I just want to go ahead and get started. Josh, tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're sitting here with here.
Yeah, like Jordan said, my name is Joshua Hawley. I'm married to my wife, Malin Hawley. We've been married for 5 years, and we have a beautiful 1-year-old daughter. We started coming to Foothills about 2 years ago, and then COVID hit, and with my wife being pregnant, we took a little bit of a break, but we've definitely started coming consistently for the past 8 months, and we've really enjoyed our time here. Luckily, we knew Kevin before we started coming to Foothills, and he's kind of the one that brought us here.
So I don't know a whole lot. Kevin's told me a little bit about your story, but you just recently became a Christian, right?
That is correct, yes.
So, and before that, you were kind of based in this science world, and you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say so. I grew up, my mom was more of a work-based denomination. I don't want to say specifically.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of grew up going to church sometimes and then not, and my dad wasn't really that religious. So I didn't really have that Christian background. So luckily I met Malin in college, and she kind of introduced me to the world, and we had a lot of conversations, and she of course invited me to church a lot. So we go to church a ton, and I would just constantly ask her questions and things like that, and she would explain it or research it if she didn't know. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the things I remember you mentioned is you kind of got exposed to some of the hypocrisy.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
In Christianity. Was that just kind of friends? Or
friends, people watching the health and wealth gospels on TV things like that as well.
Yeah, totally. So, all right, so you met Malin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and when did it come up that she was a Christian, and how did that not become a hang-up for you?
Yeah, I was about to get into that too.
To be honest, when we first started dating, I thought I was going to be able to change her, to be honest, just thinking that way. And I'm sure she thought she was going to be able to change me.
Yeah.
We had a really serious conversation, I would say 4 weeks in dating, where we were both kind of like heart to heart, crying, telling each other how we felt about things. And she just was so strong in her faith, and she stood with it. So I just said, all right, I'll start going to church with you, and kind of slowly grew from there.
That's amazing. And you were able to press through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, I was interested. Seeing the Christian community is so amazing for sure. So I wanted to be a part of it. I just didn't know much about it. And again, with the hypocrisy, it's hard.
So how long was she in? Had she grown up in church before?
She did.
So that she spent her whole life in it.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you guys together while you were still unchurched and she was going to church?
So we dated we got married after 2 years of dating, and I still wouldn't say I was fully a Christian. And even after 2-3 years of marriage, 4 years of marriage, I still wouldn't say I became a Christian until this past 5th year. Things just started clicking in this past 5th year of marriage.
Did you guys have any conflict because of that? Because I know we talked to a lot of families, and some of them are like, how do I deal with that?
Yeah.
I have some atheist family members, and we never really get into any kind of heated conversations or anything, but there's always that back and forth.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was pretty good with the flow. I care about my wife so much. I just wanted what she loved to be right, and she had the faith, so I just wanted to go with her with that.
Yeah. So you guys began at some point exploring some of your big questions, right?
Exactly, yes.
What were some of your biggest questions about Christianity?
The classics, why do good people go to hell? Why does God allow evil to exist? Those are the two main ones. And then the whole basis of evolution, because I grew up in the public school system, and that's essentially taught us fact.
Yeah,
so
totally. So what did you guys start exploring that made you think differently?
So there's a lot of good resources out there. American Gospel. I don't know if either of you.
I've seen that. Yeah, I would encourage anybody who hasn't seen that to check it out.
Yeah, American Gospel is great.
Where do people
It's
find that?
a Netflix, isn't
I'm pretty
it?
sure.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Find that on Netflix. Cold Case Christianity. Have you heard of that one? By J. Warner Wallace. That one's really good.
Great.
So he was a past detective, and he was an atheist as well, and he just really dives into more of the evidence-based and just to prove how the gospel is true. It's a really good book.
Good stuff.
Yeah. The Chosen is a series. I just enjoyed that.
Was good. I feel like every churchgoer in existence has seen The Chosen at this point. And it's like a classic. I mean, it's a new classic, but it's a classic nonetheless.
Yeah. I think the first book I read was Imagine Heaven. Have you guys read that one? It's people that go through near-death experiences, and then I guess they see heaven, or some even said they see hell and stuff like that. It was just a really interesting book to get curiosity, get a perspective on that.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So tell us about like the role that Foothills played in this journey.
Yeah, I mean, Foothills was great. I mean, the first time you invited us to the church, I did not know you were going to be talking. So it was quite a surprise to see you on the stage. And
you guys live like right across the street from each other, right?
They were like
For
walking.
everybody else who doesn't know that
I
part.
think you guys approached us.
Yeah, we did.
We were on our porch like grilling out, and we had just had Anna.
Yep.
And you guys were pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife was pregnant. Yeah, we just saw you, and we saw, I think Anna was like 1 week or 2 weeks old. So we were like, we'll just talk to you guys a little bit, just see how you guys are doing in the neighborhood. So
yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, you guys started coming.
Yeah, we started coming. Foothills have been great. You and Greg deliver great messages every week, which has been very helpful. Yeah. So,
but you guys jumped into some groups and stuff too, right?
Yep, we're in a small group with Kelsey and Brad, which has helped a lot too.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at what point did you give your life to Christ here at Foothills?
I did, about a month ago.
What was the click? What was the turning point on that?
I think there's a point where I just realized I'm not going to know everything. Like, I just kept trying to figure out more information and more information. At one point, I was like, I mean, I know enough now. Like, it's beyond a doubt. I just won't be able to figure out all these tiny little details that are still conflicting with me. But I know for sure. So I'm actually getting baptized this Sunday as well, too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
This is timely time for the podcast episode. So I want to jump back to even the documentaries, because I've seen a lot of them, but for a lot of people that haven't listened to them, or maybe somebody's passed this podcast along to somebody who is struggling with some of those hangups. What was some of that evidence, or what was some of those things that really stood out to you in the documentaries or the books or the series that you read that started making you question some of that stuff?
Like the whole idea of why do good people go to hell? You could essentially flip that as in are you as perfect to go in a perfect heaven with God? Like if you flip it, it kind of makes more sense. Like we're not perfect human beings. We all have sin. So I've thought about that.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
What about the evolution is a big thing.
Yeah.
This is a conversation that I have with some of my family members that are evolution based versus creation based. And I just literally just had this conversation the other day. I'm not going to call my family member out.
Yeah.
But I was like, if you dig into some of these facts, there is so much more scientific studies and data that points towards creationism versus the otherwise. But I'm just curious, what kind of stood out for you in that area?
Ken Ham did a great job of pointing out a lot of information. I think
He's Answers in Genesis, right? That's what I thought.
Yeah. A big thing I noticed is like they published a study where we have never seen anything evolve. We've seen things adapt to its environment, but there's been no species evolve around us at all. And I was like, that's very true. Like everything adapts, but it doesn't technically evolve.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And you mentioned at one point like that even science, your questions around science, you had more questions around science through COVID.
Yeah, that's
in some ways too.
I mean, COVID, I used to believe I thought the government and medical facilities knew everything, but now I'm realizing it's a guess, and like they weren't, like back in history, like no one was there 6,000 years ago. So we're just basing what we believe on what other people have said through storylines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's not like a political thought.
Exactly.
It's just like no, this is a guessing game
Yeah.
outside of if there's not an authority.
Exactly.
Through creation.
Yeah.
So I may go left field here, but I'm just curious. Like, there's a lot of people that just take what they hear at face value, be it science or media or whatever the case be.
Yeah.
What do you think contributes to that? That's a left field question that you're probably not prepared
I know.
for. But having come out of that, do you think there was like any? I mean, I don't want to go down a tangent here, like a conditioning or anything that led you to that. Like, what caused that, or was it just how you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, it's how I grew up. I mean, I used to believe everything that was told to me, like you said, and you just start to question a lot of stuff when you see, like, I'm a physical therapist myself, so I read constant research on current physical principles and what's the best right now. And there's a lot of data that gets falsified and stuff just so the research can go through. So just knowing that and really digging into the research myself has kind of helped me come through those conclusions.
I was going to say a lot of the stuff that I've studied too is a lot of the evidence that is Christian based seems to get suppressed, not necessarily intentionally suppressed, but the funding and the common knowledge of the scientific field, it's against what they've put out for so long that they don't want to invest the money and the time and the research into disproving some of the stuff that they've had from the beginning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's good. So like I know I have family members or friends that don't believe what I believe. You've got the same.
Yeah. I feel like everybody does somewhere down the line.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Malin's, she's your wife, but like the way that she approached this could have pushed you further away from God.
Yeah.
Just as easily as draw you in. Like,
Absolutely.
What are some of the things
she was just so welcoming for sure. Like she never pressured me too much, which I think I needed at the point. Like if I needed a break from church or I didn't feel like going, she wasn't like completely forcing me to go all the time.
That's awesome.
She was dedicated to research a lot, which helped. Just to like, if I had a question and she had no idea, she would research it, read different books about it, and get back to me with an answer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing for sure.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So the advice that you might give to someone who's got a loved one would be.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
What would be that advice?
Don't give up on them. There's this scripture. This is a paraphrase, but it says, as the wife perspective, if you're a believer and your husband's a non-believer, don't give up on him because you add holiness to the marriage. And then one day you might be the person that saves him. And I mean, that was true in our case.
Yeah.
So my recommendation to the spouses that are having a hard time is just don't give up. Just slowly try to educate them, see if they have any questions. My wife would always ask me if I had questions about anything, and I'd try to ask them just to figure it out more. So,
dude,
I feel like you have to be, we always read in the Bible, Jesus kind of met their needs first, and he never really just like slammed the book on a few people, but he never really
Pharisees.
I was going to say the Pharisees, but he never really just slammed the book on the lost and the hurting, the broken. He just was there for them. He was Jesus, and he allowed them to slowly make their way to him. And I think maybe that's the best route for us dealing with family members, is because I've also seen people just slam the book, and no one's going to win everybody by going out and just spreading. It's not even hate, but there's a lot of Christian hate messages. Self-righteousness and stuff in there too. And it's just like, be Jesus, love. I mean, how many times in the Bible is it love one another? The greatest commandment is love. That's important. Love and be the light to those that are still in darkness, right?
Yeah. So one of the last things that you said about that journey was like you had gotten to the point where you realized you weren't going to have every question answered. I bet that is where so many people are sitting, is they're trying to get every question answered. What would you say to that person?
I would say, you're never going to know anything. For example, I don't know how my fridge works, but I still use my fridge every day. Like, there's so many components of everyday life that I truly don't know how it works, but I believe in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then one big aspect is just believing in the supernatural as well. I think once people get over that the supernatural can't exist, then that's a big hurdle as well. Like the story of Jonah and the well, like, if you can't believe a human can live in a whale, well, that's when the supernatural is involved, essentially.
Yeah.
So,
has there been what has been different since you kind of made that decision with Jesus? Like, has there been any type of shift in your life or thinking? Or
I believe so. I feel like I'm more positive a person. Like, I see messages clearly. I feel like things in my life has gone according to plan, and things have kind of went along as they should, essentially.
Yeah. So it kind of changed the way that you're seeing things.
Exactly.
And taking in truth. So it's awesome.
Awesome, man. You have anything else you got lingering out there that you want to share, or any last minute tidbits to somebody who might be struggling with a family member who's trying to share Jesus with someone, or maybe someone out there who is waiting again to get all the facts right and get all the ducks in a row before they say, okay, I'm all in for Christianity.
I mean, I just would say don't come on too strong. I would encourage everyone to study apologetics as well. I feel like knowledge is power, and like the more we can defend the Bible, that helps a ton. Because I feel like most people like believe in Jesus, but they don't really know how to defend against their family members that are atheists or that. So
remind us of some of those resources too that were influential for you as we close out.
Yeah, Cold Case Christianity by J. Warner Wallace, American Gospel on Netflix, Imagine Heaven. Then I already forgot
The Chosen.
The Chosen. Thank you. Yeah, that's just a great one.
Awesome. You have anything else, Kevin?
No, that's awesome, man.
Awesome, Josh. Well, thank you for hanging out with us.
Baptized Sunday.
That's right.
We're excited to baptize you on Sunday.
Awesome.
Could we pray over?
Absolutely.
Over Josh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, God, we thank you just for Josh, and we thank you for Malin and her patience and her just steadfast faith, God, that you could work in Josh's life and in their marriage, and ultimately for his salvation. We thank you for his salvation. We cannot wait to celebrate his baptism. We pray that you would use his story to impact so many people. God, we are a people with a lot of questions, and Lord, you welcome those questions. You welcome all of our doubts and our fears, and God, you have answers for us now, and we know there's going to be things that you reveal later to us as well. So we just pray for great faith from this podcast, that it would go out and reach many people that would find you, Jesus. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. You can always find us online at foothills.cc/hills and hollows. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're in all the places that you listen to your favorite podcast. But guys, thanks again for hanging out. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.